Welcome back to Ron's Radio Corner. And I just did a video on this. I keep calling it the sand shear. It probably should be the sawn shear. S799. And one of the things I mentioned was that on Amazon, specifically Amazon Haul, you could get the same radio without the name for, I think it was $3.05. I didn't know anything about Amazon Haul, but the whole trick there is you either have to pay for shipping, which would bring that radio up to a price point where you could just buy this radio, or you have to buy $25 worth of stuff. Okay, so I paused because the fan on the heater kicked on. It was a little noisy. I'm not sure where I left off, but Amazon Haul, basically, this radio is $3.05, or it was. But if you don't spend $25, you have to pay for shipping. So, as I said in that last video, I couldn't quite see the point of buying this, and I think it's a little hysterical. I could probably do a video on just radios that I have multiple versions of the same radio, which thankfully isn't like all my radios, but it's enough where I kind of think I should have my head examined. So after going back and forth, I really didn't need to buy the second version of this radio, because, as I said in the last video, I think if you could afford, the sawn shear for $7.99, you could get, the JASM for $10. And through Amazon Haul, I picked up that Prunus J166, I think for $8.99 or $9.99. And I think for most people, if you're in a situation where you're able to spend $3 on a radio, or $5 on a radio, you're probably okay with stretching to $10 for a radio. But there was something about it that, that I guess it's, everybody loves a bargain sort of thing. So I couldn't resist. And to be honest, I had long wanted to pick up one of these Prunus J166s to check them out, because I had seen other people on YouTube review them. So it gave me a good excuse to do that. Or at least it gave me an excuse. Maybe it's not a good excuse. So here we go. There is the $3.05 Amazon Haul radio, and I wish I had looked up how you're supposed to pronounce QINGLV. I'm not sure how you would pronounce that. The interesting thing is, this is the same radio as the sawn shear behind it, right? Which is one of these things that I brought up in other videos, that you see so many of these radios and they're sold under all these different names. And it's the idea that there's probably one company, and instead of that one company selling them under their own name, they market them off to other companies who slap a name on them and sell them. And I have no idea. I mean, QINGLV might mean something in another language, but I have no idea how someone's come up with the name JASM. Prunus, does it mean pear? Prunus at least has some sort of meaning, but I have some radios, and I've definitely seen some radios where the names really look like someone just reached into the bag of Scrabble tiles and pulled out 7 tiles and said, there we go, that's the name of our radio. So QINGLV on Amazon Haul, this was being sold through the Prunus store. So I was really curious if this little radio was going to show up with a Prunus box, which it didn't, or if it was going to have Prunus on the front of it, which it doesn't. So what it did show up in is sort of a plain box. All right, let me pop that there. Listen to much differences. WIT stare and super reception of, then it says QL-09. And then, just as a comparison, there's the Sean Cheer S-799. It's interesting. This is printed almost like that, the orientation of the radio where the other box isn't. But minor things, right? Pretty much just like the Sean Cheer, it comes with a carry strap, which I have not put on. It comes with its little owner's manual, which seems surprisingly thick for a radio that is really, really simple. I've already done this a few times on that radio, but here's the tour. Off, FM, AM, headphone jack. The antenna on this, again, this antenna only swivels up. You can kind of swivel this all the way into that direction. This is much less, it's not as tight as this antenna is. This antenna, boy, I feel like I've got to support it or I'm going to snap it. And I don't know how comfortable I feel about getting it to come all the way over like that. I might need to get out my mini screwdriver set and loosen the screw on this one a little bit because the antenna is really, really tight. It's got the exact same dial. No differences at all. On this side, you have the tuning and your volume knob. On the back, you have a hinged battery cover, which, nice, particularly on such a budget radio. I haven't done it, but the QINGLV feels lighter than the Sean Cheer, and I don't know if that's the batteries that are inside. I mean, maybe the batteries, one set of batteries is heavier than the other. I've actually weighed them both, and there was a slight, I think the Sean Cheer was 0.26, I think, grams. I use a food scale, and this little guy was 0.24. It's such a small difference, and I should have done it with no batteries in them, just so it's only variable. Otherwise I'm not sure what would make one weigh slightly more than the other ones. I think the fit and finish on this one is slightly better. If I turn this on, particularly in the dark, you can see the red power LED light through that crack there where the case joins. I can't do that with this guy. So I listened to the two radios yesterday, but I went through the dial and I wasn't trying to see which one would pick up more stations. If I remember, the other day I did that with this radio and I got 24 stations with the antenna up in comparison to 39 stations with that. But still, I think 24 stations, is not bad. I went through the dial yesterday with both radios, and performance was almost identical. There were a few stations that I pulled in better with this than I did with this. I think if you had 10 of these radios in front of you, 10 of each one, you would probably find some minor differences between the two. I think when I went through the dial, there was only one station that I could not pick up on this one that I could with this one. There were a few others that I struggled, like two. But for the most part, the stations that I struggled to pick up, I wasn't picking up very well with this one. There was one station that I picked up fairly strong with this one that I could not pick up with this one, just couldn't. If I held it, yes, I put it down, it would just lose it. And of course, there's no tuning light, which is a little bit of a disappointment. It makes it a little tougher to tune in. And And it's like, if you could have it on this for $9.99, why can't you have it on this for $7.99? Yeah, I mean, particularly because I've seen this, being sold under $9.99, $8.99, and maybe even $7.99. So to me, you know, a tuning light is just a nice thing. It really helps you figure out if you've pulled in the station. So I guess the $1 million question, I'm waiting for that heater fan that kicked on again. I guess the $1 million question is, do I like this radio more for $3.05? And the funny thing is, I thought to myself when I did the other video before buying the radio that the answer was going to be no. I mean, I still think if you're buying this for $3, most people are going to be able to, to upgrade to this for 10, or the dozens of other choices that are out there. Once I had it in my hand, I was like, wow, this was only a $3 radio. So, of course, the trick is you couldn't buy it for $3 unless you bought, 8 or 9 of them. I guess you'd have to have 9 of them to get yourself over the $25 hurdle. And I don't know what you would do with, with 10 of these things. When I checked last night on Amazon, the cheapest I saw this for was like $4 and change. Still, I think it has its place. I think, I think if you're just looking to have a radio, particularly one that is going to pick up like the stations that are the strongest around you. Maybe you want to be able to listen to like the local ball game, or there's some talk radio show that you like to listen to at lunch while you're at work. This radio is so easy to keep in your glove box, to keep in your center console, the drawer, your desk at work, whatever the case may be. And I think I've said this before, but I always kind of cringe. I feel a little bad about saying it. I think if you were someone who found yourself, if you found yourself and you were, homeless or like bouncing from place to place, I think having just a small radio to be able to kind of stay, in contact with the world and have some, entertainment, whether that's music or sports or something. I mean, I really could see like a homeless shelter or something making these available. Of course, then it comes down to the batteries and all that other stuff. But I could really see a facility like that making these available to people. I could see maybe if you knew a storm was coming in and there's a storm center, where people are picking up like sandbags or whatnot. I could see where a community could have a box of these radios, and be handing them out to people who didn't have a radio, because they're that inexpensive and it's a functional device. It's not like this is $3 and it doesn't work. I mean, this is $3 and it doesn't work. No, it works. I just gotta figure out where I left it. I gotta lower that and there's the fan.
To Governor Healy's State of the Commonwealth address tonight, Sweezy has been critical of the MBTA Communities Act and the entries as possible. The deadline is yesterday's state auditor
between the radio and the fan on the heater.
Restaurants and home kitchens around the world. Their cookware
I'm trying to
found
find
at
that classic. Oh, there it is. But I'm going to struggle to pull it in. So I'm competing with the blower motor, but I don't want to pause again because the fan runs for a while. But you know, it does work. You know, it provides reasonably decent sound for its size. I think it would be perfect as an emergency radio. Obviously, if you're someone who really likes classical music, this probably isn't the radio you're buying to listen to it. But I really could see, you know, this radio being put into the hands of people who didn't have a radio and needed one or needed the ability to stay connected. Would I buy this for someone, you know, because I thought they should have a radio in the drawer? Maybe, you know, particularly if if it was $3 again, you know, if I knew a bunch of people who, senior center or something, hey, you know, keep one of these in the drawer in case you need a radio. Although at a senior center that might be a little small to look at. If it was a close family or a good friend or somebody, and I was just looking to buy them an inexpensive radio, I'd probably go with the Prunus J166, the weather version. But again, at $3, I thought to myself, it's not going to make any difference. At $7.99, I thought there were better radios. At $3, I don't think it's too hard to jump to, to 10. Once I had it in my hand, I was like, wow, this is $3, and it's a working radio, and it sounds decent enough for what it is, and it works reasonably well. It pulls in, a reasonable amount of stations. It's not like this thing's only pulling in 2 stations. It's not like you're picking it up, and you're thinking to yourself, it's practically disposable. I mean, it is probably practically disposable, but not because it doesn't work and doesn't function. So there you go. There is the weird story of the QINGLV, right? It's sold by the Prunus store on Amazon Haul. It's $3.05, but you got to spend $25 to avoid paying shipping on it. And for some reason, at $3.05, I like it better than this guy, or at least appreciate it more. Although this one does have slightly better fit and finish. But again, I think that is probably, just random sampled, not much more than that. So thanks for watching.